3 months after he abandoned me in Italy, my husband Robert finally tracked me down to a dusty olive farm in Greece. He stepped out of his rental car, sunglasses on, demanding I come home. He thought he was the hero of the story. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the truth. Filed divorce papers. He didn't know I'd been living under a new name, working a new life, and was now a partner in a new business. How does an abandoned American wife left for dead with $90 become a successful entrepreneur in a foreign country in 90 days? Let's go back to the night he left me. My husband Robert and his friends thought it would be a hilarious prank to leave me stranded in a tiny, nameless Italian town after a fight. Let's see how she gets back. They laughed, their voices cutting through the evening air as the tail lights of our rental car, a sleek silver sedan, got smaller and smaller, disappearing around the bend of that narrow old-world street. Nothing but dust and the echo of his friends' laughter. I stood frozen. I kept telling myself, he's coming back. This is just to scare me. But the knot in my stomach tightened as minutes stretched into a terrifying hour. The fight was over my suggestion that we head back to our hotel. Robert had been drinking heavily during their annual college buddies reunion. His friends had egged him on. "She's always controlling you, man," one of them slurred, ordering another round. As I stood up to leave, Robert followed me outside. His words were slurred, but his anger was sharp and precise. "Your purse has your passport, right?" he sneered. "Then you'll figure it out. You're so smart, always telling me what to do," before slamming the car door and driving off. Night fell completely, and the picturesque Italian town suddenly felt menacing. I counted my cash, €80, maybe $90. Not enough for a flight home to Dallas, barely enough for one night in a dodgy room. My credit cards? In Robert's wallet. He'd offered to carry them earlier when my small clutch was too full. Pause for a second. If Robert's betrayal makes your blood boil, and you're secretly terrified that one day you might also be left completely helpless and on your own, you need to click subscribe right now. Don't wait until it's too late. If you won't subscribe, drop a comment right now and confess why you think you can handle whatever life throws at you without us. Let the universe know your fatal mistake. I managed to find the cheapest room I could, a dingy pension above a bakery. I stared at my phone in disbelief. 27 calls to Robert, all going straight to voicemail. Then I tried his friends. Blocked. I realized this wasn't a drunken mistake. It was a calculated humiliation. By morning, I was still holding on to a sliver of hope. Robert would return, sheepish, but ready to blame me for overreacting to his joke. We'd return to our carefully constructed life in Boston, where he was a respected architect, and I was his supportive wife who'd set aside her own design career to manage their home. But he didn't come. On the third day, a kind cafe owner directed me to the local police. The officer there seemed utterly unsurprised by my story. Abandoned American tourists must be a regular occurrence. The report was filed, but I was left with nothing but a sympathetic nod. That afternoon, I made the hardest decision of my life. I stood before a cramped pawn shop and twisted off my 2-carat diamond wedding ring. The shopkeeper offered me far less than it's worth, but it was enough to fund the next step of my journey. "Call family, go home to America?" the broker suggested. I nodded, but inside, a completely different plan was forming. Going home meant explaining everything, facing my mother's inevitable "I told you so" about Robert's temper, and returning to a life where I had made myself smaller to accommodate Robert's expanding ego. I remembered Robert jokingly hiding my portfolios when I mentioned returning to interior design work. "Why complicate things?" he'd asked. "I need you focused on our life." Sitting in that grimy bus station, I saw it for what it was, another fence in the pen he'd built around me. "Where do you go?" the ticket agent asked. I looked at the board, pointed my finger and said, "Greece." The decision crystallized right there, the furthest coastal village I could get to. If you're watching this far, you're committed to Amelia's story. But are you committed to your own freedom? If you walk away now, you risk forgetting this valuable lesson. Smash that like button and hit subscribe. Don't be like Robert making the wrong choice and driving off laughing. The future of this channel and more stories like this rests on your click. 14 hours later, I stumbled off the final bus. The smell of salt air and olive groves greeted me as I took in the whitewashed buildings of a village whose name I still couldn't pronounce. My phone was dead, my stomach was hollow, and the weight of what had been done to me pressed down on my shoulders. Exhaustion took over. I collapsed on a dusty path under the shimmering leaves of olive trees. A strange calm washed over me as the ground rushed up to meet my face. Then, a woman's voice cut through the haze. Elena. She was an elderly woman with deep lines around kind eyes. She helped me up and guided me to her stone farmhouse nestled among the olive trees. Her husband, Nikos, a gentleman with a silver mustache, was cautious but not unwelcoming. The evenings were a blur of broken communication, hand gestures, and eventually my tears. Elena nodded as if she understood everything. They offered me their spare room. Over the next few days, I tried to leave, several times, but each attempt was met with Elena's gentle, wounded resistance. She finally led me to a small wooden box of photographs. They were pictures of her daughter, Sophia, who had moved far away to Australia and had a baby, a grandchild Elena never saw. Elena saw in me a surrogate for her absent daughter. And so I stayed. I gathered eggs, learned to hang laundry, and Nikos taught me to identify weeds in the garden. The work was physical, nothing like my old life in Boston, but it was satisfying. My body protested at first, but with each passing day, my strength grew, and the constant mental cycling through my abandonment began to quiet. 2 weeks in, Elena asked me the question that hit me with unexpected force. Slowly, in her improving English, "Home. You want go home?" Home. The word conjured our sleek Boston brownstone, but it also brought Robert's controlling behavior into sharp focus. His helpful management of our finances that left me without independent access, his subtle discouragement of my friendships. I told Elena everything. When I finished, she pointed to her heart, then to the farm, and finally to me. The message was clear. I had a place here. "I stay, I work," I said, and Elena's smile bloomed like the sunrise. "You see how Amelia chose to build a real life instead of returning to a pretty lie? The people who just watch and don't act are the ones who let life happen to them. Don't be that person. Click subscribe now and join the community that chooses freedom. If you won't join, seriously, comment with the weakest excuse you can think of." My education in olive farming began the next morning. Nikos showed me how to comb the olive branches with wooden rakes to release the fruit onto nets. My city-soft hands from Boston developed their first blisters, but each day brought improvement. Nikos eventually commented, "You learn fast." It was the highest compliment he'd ever paid me. I started helping Elena with the business records, updating their systems from handwritten ledgers to basic computer spreadsheets. "Smart," Elena said, tapping her temple. "Boston lady brain, good for business." With their blessing, I created updated tags for the bottles and a simple brochure for tourists. 6 months into my new life, I was attending the baptism of the butcher's granddaughter, my first formal village celebration. The elderly priest greeted me, switching to halting English. "You bring new life to Old Grove," he said. "Village needs new blood." My new friend, Yana the weaver, finally asked the question I'd been avoiding. "The husband who left you in Italy, you never say his name." "Gabriel," I said. "His name is Robert." "And he never searched for you?" she asked. I admitted I hadn't checked my American email in months. "Perhaps time to look," Yana advised. "Not for him, for you, to close the door properly." I logged into my neglected email. A thread from my former design mentor caught my eye. A remote consulting position with a sustainable building materials company was still open. An unexpected bridge back to my old career, but then another sender froze my fingers on the screen. Robert Davis. Subject line, "I know where you are." "Alexis," the email read, "it's taken months and a private investigator, but I finally tracked you to that backwater in Greece. This has gone on long enough. I'm coming to bring you home and end this ridiculous tantrum. My flight lands in Athens on Thursday. Be ready. 3 days from now." Robert is coming. He expects her to crawl back. Do you think she should go back to the luxurious life in Boston? If you're rooting for Amelia to stay, you must show your support by clicking subscribe and hitting the notification bell. If you don't, it's like you're saying she deserves to be trapped. I stumbled downstairs. "Bad news from America?" Elena asked gently. "Robert," I managed. "He's coming here Thursday." Elena's eyes narrowed. She slid an envelope across the table. Good timing then. Was waiting for right moment. Inside were legal papers, a partnership agreement, 1/3 ownership of the business, starting now, not employment, not apprenticeship, but legitimate partnership. "You choose what happens Thursday," Elena said, tapping the papers. "You have home here Business here, friends here. That man, he no longer decides. Thursday arrived. I was in the processing shed when the unfamiliar sound of a rental car engine broke the afternoon quiet. Elena appeared at the doorway. He is here. Robert stood beside a sleek silver sedan, designer sunglasses perched on his perfectly coiffed hair. He was examining the humble farmhouse with visible distaste. He didn't notice me at first. This man, who had once been the center of my universe, now looked somehow smaller against the backdrop of ancient olive trees that had become my home. "Robert," I called, my voice calmer than expected. The shock on his face was comical. "My God, Alexis, what happened to you?" he asked, the familiar, disapproving tone in his voice. "Life happened," I replied. "What are you doing here?" "I've come to take you home, of course." He extended his arms, his practiced charm sliding into place. "This has gone on long enough, don't you think?" "This isn't about making a point," I interrupted, stopping well outside his reach. "This is about making a life." He noticed Elena and Nikos watching. "Are these the people you've been staying with? Have they been holding you here?" "They've been teaching me," I cut in, "about olive farming, about community, about kindness without conditions. I'm part owner now. I have a business here." Disbelief gave way to condescension. "A business, Alexis? Be serious, you're a designer, not a farmer. Is this what, some eat, pray, love phase after our fight?" He finally offered a hollow apology. "I'm sorry I left you in Italy. It was immature and wrong. Can we move past this now?" "Why did you even look for me, Robert? It's been months. Why now?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Your parents have been calling, friends asking questions at events, clients wondering why you're not at the house when they visit. It looks bad for your image," I finished for him. "Our reputation," he corrected sharply. "Our life together." "The one you built," I countered. "The one where I gradually became nothing more than an accessory to your success. Tell me, Robert, did you even notice how unhappy I was before Italy? Did you care? We had a good life, Alexis. A beautiful home, financial security. What more could you possibly want?" Purpose, connection, agency over my own choices. I found all three here, in a place you dismiss as primitive and backward. Elena approached then, pressing the partnership agreement into my hand. I unfolded the document and held it toward Robert. "I have legal ties here now, a business partnership, responsibilities to people who value me for my contributions, not my appearance or social connections." His face flushed with anger. "You can't be serious. You'd throw away everything for this?" I reached into my pocket. "I'm not throwing away anything. I'm choosing something better, something real." I placed the final envelope in his rigid hand. "These are divorce papers, Robert, already filed." "You'll regret this," he threatened, but the sound was hollow. "When the novelty wears off and you're still hauling olives in the hot sun at 60, you'll remember what you gave up." "Maybe," I conceded, "but I'd rather risk regret from choices I made than live with the certainty of regret from choices made for me." Nico stepped forward and said something firm in Greek to Robert. Robert asked me what he said. He said the road back to Athens is dangerous after dark. You should leave now. Without another word, Robert returned to his rental car, the divorce papers clutched in his hand. Elena slipped her hand into mine. Together, the three of us turned toward the house. My house now, too. Robert had left me stranded, assuming I'd be helpless without him. Instead, he had accidentally set me free. Don't let Amelia's journey end here. You've watched until the final frame because you understand the power of her choice. If you leave this video now without subscribing, you're essentially choosing to side with Robert and the life of regret. Subscribe and affirm that true freedom is priceless. Or go ahead and comment about why you're choosing to walk away from this valuable lesson. Sometimes the cruelest actions yield the greatest gifts. Robert's joke didn't break Amelia. It was the catalyst for her rebirth.